You put in the work and got your no-name clan up to tier 1. And now is when you start to lay the real foundations of that awesome empire you're going to build. Because now, my dear friend, it's time for the mercenary phase. The mercenary phase is the absolute greatest time to make money. And the mistake that you're making is that you're getting out of it entirely too early. So you go find a noble of a faction and you talk to him, tell him you'd like to sign up as a mercenary. Now I know you're eager to get out there and really start thumping enemies and making that money, but you got to pace yourself here. You can see my army is really not that elite yet. I only have 12 level 5 archers. I don't have any high level infantry. This is not an army you really want to go to war with. So when you first start out, just get to recruiting. Remember, when you're working as a mercenary, any influence you gain for that faction gets converted into cash. And so you can still make good money just fighting bandits. In this case, this village had the clear bandit hideout quest, so that's $3,000, which I need to be able to keep recruiting. And so we'll wait till nightfall. My crew's going in there to clear them out. Those Palatine guards do a pretty good job in these forest bandit hideouts. They'll take care of all the problems. And then once we're done clearing it out, not only will we get the money from the quest, but you'll also see that I gain some influence, which then turns into more money. So every time you take out a bandit party or do anything that increases your influence, you're going to get more money for that action. And if you continuously do them, you can really stack that influence up. Or if you participate in big battles and win, and you get a lot of influence for that, that's where you're going to make a ton of money, is in those big battles. But of course, you got to be careful, because we all know how good the AI is in those big battles, and you can find yourself in a bad position very quickly. Any day, ladies. Jeez, they're taking forever. All right, good job, fellas. Way to kick ass. My Oklahoma gang, look at him with those mustaches. How could I not love him? So I got the money for the quest, I get the money from the loot, and I gained some influence, which also converts into money. So you really start piling it on very quickly as a mercenary. And this is very important, because you've got troops to recruit, troops to upgrade. On top of that, Big Poppy's going to need some gear. I mean, this is all functional, but we really want to get that delicious drip that drives the tavern maids wild. And so you have a ton of expenses coming your way. And as you continue to fight bandits, your party will level up. They'll gain more experience. You'll get more elite troops. And so you just run around, gather companions, and keep upgrading your army until you've got yourself a sexy stack of studs. And at that point, of course, you start attacking other Lord armies, and you can even, if you're feeling frisky, jump in those big battles. But boy, we've all had those go sideways. Let me show you something you may not have tried before. And this is the greatest way to make money as a mercenary, and that's in fief defense. You highlight an enemy army, it'll tell you where they're traveling and what they're up to. Here they're coming right to Ortizia to besiege it. And I am a mercenary for the Western Empire. I'd like to merc for the Western Empire because these big Valandian and Aserai armies typically come to siege Ortizia here. And you can see it's got a big garrison, it's got a big militia. I throw my stack and my engineering on top of it, and it becomes an absolute loot pinata. And I'll show you that quickly. 2 tips before we dive into this. Number 1 is you're going to do this and you're going to screw it up, and I want you to see me in your head telling you that I told you so. Never, ever, 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 ever defend a castle. Because what'll happen is you'll hop in there with your troops feeling like, oh, it's only 500-600. We could make this work. But then another army of 800 or 900 shows up, and now you're toast. Only defend towns to be safe. Another trick is if you have a bunch of food, especially if you accumulate 400 grain and 300 fish and you're just stacked, a good thing to do is the second you come into the city, go ahead and trade the food into the city because that will allow it to hold out longer. That food will count in the granary stock, and so it will allow the town to hold out longer because the city will be so stuffed with food that they can't starve out the garrison. And having that garrison is very nice. The militia do what they can, but it's the armor and high-level bow troops really putting in the work. So no castles, and stuff the fief that's about to get sieged with food, and that's going to set you up for success. Then we're just going to wait here inside of it, and here they come. They're setting up siege. You'll see in this build, I'm going for a commander build where I'm going high leadership, and I've already maxed int out. I had to remake my guy from the first one because a mod of mine glitched. And so I started in the first video going high social, but when I remade him, I decided to go high int. You really want to get some points in engineering early. Once you get to this fire version of siege engines can be constructed, this is going to win you. I mean, it doesn't matter how many of the enemy there are. You're going to destroy all of the siege engines and you're going to win the siege. Occasionally, some things can go wrong, but for the most part, 90% of the time, you're going to win the siege with this trait. Now, of course, you can use your own engineer, but you'll see that if you just hop on a siege engine, and I'll show you in this siege, you can level your engineering up very quickly if you're the one doing the shooting. We've got the siege engines built. They're going to build theirs for a little bit, and we're going to have a siege duel. I already have 70 points in engineering, so already have some accuracy advantages. And now look here, how beautiful this situation is. They're coming into a tier 3 walled city with all of my siege up, and they only have about 150 more troops than I do. And I've got my stacked army, the garrison, and all this militia to soak up damage so my guys aren't the only ones getting hit. Absolutely outstanding situation. Now let's take a quick peek before we head into the siege at my mercenary contract. Look, I'm making 540 a day.
Sergeants, take command!
Okay, sergeants, take command. Someone take my horse. Make sure it gets a lot of food and water. I love that horse. Oh shit, boy, they are really coming. We're going to run up here. Look at my boys. Don't worry, guys, we're going to be fine. How could you not be? You're so awesome. Loving the armor, loving the look. Keep the hips loose, guys. So, hey, fellas, can I just get in here and level my engineering a little bit? You can go after siege engines, but what I like to do early is just really get the... Okay, so that was short. I should have seen that off that first shot. But I really like to just get up here and hit troops because that's going to give you that engineering. Too much? There we go. Perfect. Look at that. I went from 70 engineering to 110 in one shot. Now, what we have right there is a nice fat stack of armored troops you can see right there to the 12 o'clock. Too much. It's too much. Okay, so we're going to drop down a little bit. I mean, these guys might not even make it to the walls once you start really dishing out the pain. There we go. Trying to get that siege up to 150. Oh, it's like porn. Oh. Give him another one. So now, after this siege, I will be able to build fire versions of these, which are even better. And look, they're just stacking back up for me. Outstanding. That's very nice of them. The more damage you can cause right now, the more likely they are to quit the siege. And the thing is, even if they quit the siege, all these guys you're knocking out and stuff, these all become prisoners. So maybe a few of them get away, but oftentimes the whole army just surrenders. They're out. Look at that. I mean, what are the casualties going to be here? Like 2 or 3? Good job, fellas. All right, look there. Look at the casualties. No problem. And now the loot pinata burst open. You grab everyone as a prisoner. Don't ever release them. Ever. I hear people say, just release them to get charm. Are you out of your mind? Look at all these troops I can grab too to replace my losses. Grab this caravan guard. I like his hat. Replace some of my infantry, archers, whatever I want. And then look, 438 prisoners. We're going to take this over here. All this money, look at this. A stack of loot. Beautiful. Is that a nice knight shield? Oh, I'll put that on. Got a sword if I need it. Some jabs, some nice noble mounts here that are going to sell well. So then we return to the city, and this is where you're screwing up. Now, right away, look at that influence gain. I'm at 118. What does that transfer to? 4,320 on my mercenary contract. But the best is yet to come. We're going to go into the tavern, and we're going to put everybody over here, but we're going to keep the nobles. Okay, we're going to sell all that. So there's another 43 grand I made. Then, and this is the most important part, you want to go to the dungeon and donate prisoners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 118, look at this now. 64 influence. The higher ranking that the prisoner is, the more influence you gain. If you gain a faction leader, they're like 30 or 40 influence just by themselves. You can take the nobles and start putting them in other cities and disperse them out every time you win a siege. If you max out your rep with the noble in that city, take him to another city. It builds your charm, and most importantly, did you see it? Look at my influence here. Now I'm at 183. I'm going to be making 5,686 a day. On top of all the prisoners, all the loot, fief defense is the #1 way to make stacks of cash very quickly. There is not a fief in the game that is going to give you 6,660 dinars a day. You would have to have 2 or 3 fiefs, and they'd have to be max level, and then you got to garrison them and all that crap. And just remember, donating lords, and you can also donate prisoners. The only thing is, after the battle, oftentimes, if you go to the dungeon, you'll see that he's already almost maxed out. So you really can't donate that many troops, but if you donate some high-level troops as well, that will also increase your influence. But there's usually enough room to donate the nobles you capture. But you can't just donate that whole army. So you sell the troops, donate the nobles, sell the loot, and then after you sell all that and donate the guys, and you're sitting out here making this money every day, you can attack this army. And guess what? Your influence will go up higher. You go up here and you help these guys take this army. You capture all those nobles. You dump them back in here. This number goes through the roof. I've had this go up to 24K before when we beat an army of like 1,700 Valandians. It was crazy. So I'm sure that you know about attacking armies and building up your influence, but fief defense is the #1 way to make a ton of money. And it won't be long before you're rolling in dough. And what are you going to spend that dough on? Better troops, better gear, gearing out your companions. Anything that's going to require money, get it done in the mercenary phase. Keep farming until you have everything you need. And then store up a bunch of dinars. I like to have about a mill and a half before I even roll into vassalage. What did I just tell you? Do not leave the mercenary phase until you are stacked. Stacked with gear, stacked with troops. Your companions have all the gear and stuff they need. You should need 50, 60 sumpter horses just to carry all your bags of gold around. And then you start to consider who you want a vassal for so that you can use their armies to build your kingdom. That's really what it is. And yet still, you're going to jump out of the mercenary phase before you're ready. I want you to think, is there anything else I could possibly need to buy? And if there is, keep mercing. Makes me sick how you all leave the mercenary phase before you're ready. I want you to picture me under that desk you're sitting at ready to pounce. Just bite you right on the penis. Arrgh! Leave the mercenary phase. Are you out of your mind? Farm it up until you're Scrooge McDuck. That's the rules of the mercenary phase. Hope these tips help. Next video up, vassalage. Got some more cool stuff to show you. Oklahoma out.